I thought I was meeting his friends for a quiet birthday dinner until his wife walked in. Spoiler, I didn't even know he was married. But what happened next? Let's just say, his life was never the same again. There are moments in life where everything tilts, like the universe hiccups. One minute, you're sipping wine at a steakhouse, your heels too tight but your heart happy. And the next, you're staring across the table at a woman with your same last name, his wife. But let me back up. When I met Miles, he felt like a deep exhale, like I'd been holding my breath through years of bad Tinder dates and ghostings and you up texts. And then there he was, smooth, 6'2", charming in this low-key, grown man kind of way. He worked in commercial real estate, whatever that means, had a dog named Hugo, and actually listened when I talked. Like remembered things, my Starbucks order, the name of my awful boss, the fact that my parents split on a Wednesday. He was a full-blown adult, confident, intentional, intense in this intoxicating, warm hands on your waist kind of way. Our first date turned into brunch the next morning. 3 weeks later, I had a toothbrush at his place. 6 months in, he gave me a key. By month 11, I was in deep. Not in a desperate, clingy way, more like, I thought we were building something. Real. Solid. Like, maybe this is it real. So when he invited me to his birthday dinner, just close friends, nothing crazy, I felt honored. Special. Wifey level. I wore a forest green dress that hugged me like a secret and made my skin look golden. We showed up together, his hand resting on my lower back like it belonged there. The restaurant was one of those dimly lit, 18 mocktail exposed brick places that makes you feel important just for being there. We slid into a big booth, already filled with his friends, laughing, loud, a little too drunk already. I was smiling, making small talk, ordering a mocktail, trying to cut back. Miles kissed my cheek, stood to make a quick toast. To 34, he said, lifting his glass. To good friends and good women, I laughed, and that's when she walked in. Wavy brown hair, a structured trench coat, deep red lipstick. She didn't look around like she was lost. She walked straight to the table, kissed Miles on the cheek and said, "Sorry I'm late, our sitter canceled last minute." Our sitter. I blinked, swallowed. Everyone got quiet. Miles didn't even flinch. He just said, "Babe, this is Ivy." And she turned to me, tilted her head, smiled. "You must be the coworker." The coworker. Y'all, I don't even work in real estate. The second she called me the coworker, my blood went ice cold. But I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. I just smiled. That scary kind of smile you give when your soul is halfway out the door. "Oh," I said, "as sweet as a southern bless your heart. You must be his wife." She smiled back, lips painted the exact shade of betrayal. "I am." Miles let out this awkward laugh, like this was some kind of quirky misunderstanding we'd all chuckle about later. Okay, he said, raising his hands like we were at a peace talk. "Let's all just sit down. It's my birthday, come on." And everyone did. Everyone just sat down. Like that wasn't the most insane plot twist this side of an HBO drama. Ivy took the seat right next to Miles, like it was hers, like he was hers. And honestly, I guess he was. Me? I was the punchline. I picked up my menu even though I couldn't read a single word on it. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My face burned. I knew everyone was watching me, waiting to see what I'd do, so I didn't give them anything. I turned to Ivy and said, "So how long have you two been married?" She cut her steak. "Almost 6 years. We have a 3-year-old, Hazel." Hazel. I knew that name. Miles had once told me his niece was named Hazel, said she lived in Denver. The audacity. "That's so sweet," I said, sipping my water like it was vodka. "He never stops talking about you." Which was true if you meant his ex-wife, his dog, or his coworker he thinks might be into him. But never a wife. Miles coughed. "Ivy, can we not—" "Oh, no, I'm curious," she said, looking right at me. "How do you two know each other again?" I stared at her. At him. Back to her. My brain was sprinting, trying to decide if I should scream, cry, throw wine, or just walk out. Instead, I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "We met on Hinge, almost a year ago." I didn't know he was married, but now I do. The table went silent. Forks froze. Glasses clinked nervously. Miles' jaw dropped. "Ivy, look. It's not what." But she wasn't even looking at him anymore. She was looking at me. And y'all, she winked. That's when it hit me. She already knew. I don't even remember walking to the bathroom. 1 second, I was sitting there in a booth of stunned silence, steak untouched, glass in hand like it was the only thing tethering me to the earth. The next, Ivy was standing beside me, gently touching my elbow. "Come with me," she said, tone low but not angry, Not even icy, just tired and weirdly calm. I followed. Because what else do you do when the wife of the man you've been dating for almost a year asks you to go somewhere private? The bathroom was one of those upscale restaurant types, scented candles, tiny glass bottles of lotion, a couch no one ever sits on. Ivy checked to make sure it was empty. Then she turned to me, arms crossed, red lipstick still immaculate. "I'm sorry," she said. "Wait, what?" she sighed, leaning back against the marble sink. I wanted to see how long he'd keep lying. He told me he ended things months ago. Said it was just a fling. That you were some girl from work. I just stared at her. "You knew?" I whispered, my voice barely there. "You knew about me?" "Not everything," she said quickly. "But I knew something. I found a text once. 'Good night, love bug.' Cute, by the way." I confronted him. He said it was a phase, a mistake, that it was over. I didn't believe him, but I didn't have proof. I couldn't breathe. "So," she continued, "when I saw the birthday dinner invite on the kitchen counter with your name on it, I knew, and I decided to show up." My stomach dropped. "So this was, a test," she finished. "I needed to see what kind of woman you were." I stepped back, my spine stiffening. "Excuse me?" She held up a hand. Not in a judgmental way. "I just wanted to see if you knew. If you were another oops, or if you were in on it. I figured I'd know by how you acted." "And?" I asked, pulse pounding. Her mouth curved, just slightly. "You didn't know. You were just as blindsided as I was." I stared at the mosaic tile on the floor, trying not to cry. I don't know why I felt ashamed. I hadn't lied, I hadn't cheated, but still, this pit was forming in my gut, a mess of confusion, rage, heartbreak, and something else I couldn't name yet. She walked over to the sink, touched up her lipstick. "So now what?" I asked, voice shaking. Ivy met my eyes in the mirror. Her gaze was sharp, steady. "Now," she said, "we ruin him. If you'd told me even 2 hours earlier that I'd be standing in a bathroom forming an alliance with my boyfriend's wife, I would have laughed, or cried, or both. But there we were. 2 women, strangers really, brushing shoulders in the mirror while plotting the emotional demolition of one man's life. And honestly, it felt weirdly empowering. Ivy turned to me and said, "How much do you know?" I blinked. "About what?" She gave me a look like, "Girl, please." "About him. About us. About how many women there've been." "Oh." I shook my head slowly. "I thought I was his girlfriend." "The girlfriend." "I had a key. He met my mom. I thought we were heading towards something serious. I didn't even know you existed until tonight." Her jaw tightened. "He's done this before. Not like this, not this deep, but enough." I leaned against the counter, arms crossed to keep from shaking. "Why stay with someone like that?" She exhaled sharply. "Because I have a daughter. Because I wanted to believe it was fixable. Because starting over alone is terrifying when you've built your entire adult life around a man who lies like he breathes." I swallowed that lump in my throat, the one that always shows up when someone says something a little too real. "I didn't come here to fight you," she said. "I came here to face it. And maybe, if you're willing to hit back, quietly, elegantly, devastatingly." There was something beautifully unhinged about her. Not messy, unhinged, but that calm, calculating kind of chaos that says, "I know exactly what I'm doing." "What do you want to do?" I asked, heart pounding. Ivy smiled. "First, we finish dinner. Like, nothing's wrong. He doesn't get the satisfaction of a scene. He gets uneasy silence and tight smiles." I nodded, already loving this energy. "Then," she continued, "you go home. You send me everything. Texts, photos, anything he sent you in the last year. And you?" She tossed her hair over her shoulder. "I'll handle the rest. He's got a work event next week, a charity gala he's speaking at. His boss will be there. His clients, his mother. I think it's time the world hears a little truth." And just like that, I realized I wasn't alone. I wasn't some naive girl left in the wreckage. I was part of something bigger, smarter, sharper. We walked out of that bathroom like nothing had happened, sat back down, side by side across from him. He blinked. "You okay?" he asked, eyes darting between us. I smiled. "Peachy," I said, picking up my fork. "Now, weren't you telling us about that new listing in Savannah?" He looked like he'd swallowed a nail. Good. Because his perfect little double life was about to collapse. The thing about revenge is, it doesn't start with fire. It starts with receipts. That night, after what might go down as the most polite dinner in hell's history, I went home and opened my camera roll with shaky hands. I thought it would feel empowering. Righteous, like I was doing something brave. Instead, it felt like swallowing glass. There were so many photos. Miles kissing my cheek at the farmer's market, laughing in my kitchen with a beer in hand, holding Hugo, his dog, like the good boy dad I thought he was training to be someday. Sweet texts, Dirty ones. Memes he sent me at 2 a.m. when he couldn't sleep. But the worst? A video of him slow dancing with me in my living room. I had candles lit, music playing. He was looking at me like I was his future. Meanwhile, I was just his Tuesday and Thursday girl. I sent everything to Ivy, zipped it up in a folder called Truth Hurts. She didn't reply immediately, just sent a thumbs up. Then, 2 hours later, a list. Subject, let's begin. Forward me all texts that mention places he lied about being. Do you have any receipts showing he spent money on you while claiming to be with the guys? Screenshot any message where he calls you his girlfriend. Don't post anything. Not yet. We're not going scorched earth. We're going surgical. Final rule. No warnings. No last chances. He doesn't get to explain. Chills. Y'all, Ivy is terrifying, in the best possible way. And I suddenly realized how Miles had underestimated her. She wasn't the quiet wife at home. She was a woman who'd waited, watched, and now she was done playing nice. The next morning, I woke up to another message from her. Update. His work gala is this Friday. It'll be live streamed. He's receiving some real estate award. Guess who's submitting a flash drive for the tribute video montage? Oh. I called her immediately. You're putting it in the video? Not everything, she said. Casual. Just enough to humiliate him. A few sweet clips of him with you, layered between photos of him and me. You know, a greatest hits collection of his lies. I didn't know whether to laugh, scream, or marry her myself. Are you sure? I asked. Oh, I'm sure, she said. This ends on my terms. And yours. The world will see what he really is. By the end of the week, the plan would be in motion. And the best part? Miles still had no idea we'd ever spoken. He texted me that morning like everything was normal. Miles, hey, sorry again about the mix-up at dinner. Ivy can be intense. Let's talk tonight? I looked at that text for a long time. Then I screen capped it. Sent it to Ivy. She replied, perfect. Keep him talking. It'll make the reveal that much sweeter. By Thursday, I'd become the kind of woman I used to envy. Unbothered, sharp, eyes open, lip gloss loaded like armor. But underneath the cool exterior, I was buzzing with adrenaline. Fear, maybe. Or rage. Or both tangled together. I'd spent the past few days quietly forwarding everything Ivy asked for. Receipts, screenshots, videos, even a voice memo of Miles calling me his ride or die on a weekend I now knew he told his wife he was on a work trip. She was building a case like a lawyer with a personal vendetta. We weren't just exposing a cheater, we were documenting a pattern. A timeline of betrayal. Every smile, every lie. But then, something weird happened. I was cleaning out my inbox trying to find a hotel receipt he'd booked for a business conference in Miami we'd gone together when I found an old email from 5 months ago. It was from Miles. Subject, for you. I didn't remember it. I opened it, expecting some dumb meme or a Spotify playlist. But instead, it was a forwarded Airbnb reservation. For a weekend, in the mountains. Under my name. Paid with a card that wasn't his usual. It hadn't matched our trip schedule, we'd never gone. I scrolled down to the guest list. There were 2 names. Mine. And Ivy's. My heart stopped. I sat there staring at the screen like it might morph into something that made sense. I read it again. And again. It was dated 2 months before I ever knew Ivy existed. What the hell? I texted her, the message short and shaking. Did you know about this? 5 minutes. No response. 10. Then finally, Ivy, what am I looking at? I called her. She picked up on the first ring. Ivy, I said, voice cracking. I think he planned for us to meet. Like set it up. She was silent. Why would he book a weekend with both of us? I whispered. What was he doing? Her voice was flat, controlled. Send me the full email. I did. All of it. She didn't reply for 15 minutes. When she did, it was just 3 words. Change of plans. Ivy wasn't the dramatic type. Calculated? Yes. Strategic? Absolutely. But never impulsive. So when she called an emergency meeting for that night, I knew something was off script. She showed up at my apartment in all black leggings, boots, a sleek coat, no makeup, no jewelry, just this tight bun and a look in her eyes like someone had just lit a match and handed her the gasoline. She walked in, sat down, and dropped her bag on the coffee table. Inside, a stack of papers, a literal dossier. This, she said, flipping through them, is Miles's pattern. She pointed to a spreadsheet. Yeah, a spreadsheet with dates, initials, city names, hotel bookings, flights, emails. He's done this before. A lot. But this, she held up the printed Airbnb email. This is new. He's never tried to put 2 of us in the same place. I stared at it, heart hammering. Why would he do that? Why risk that? She didn't answer immediately. Then, slowly, she said, because he wanted to get caught. I blinked. Excuse me? I've been thinking, she continued. What if this isn't just about cheating? What if it's about control? The thrill of manipulation. He gets off on knowing more than everyone else, playing people like chess pieces, making women orbit him like planets while he stays at the center. The worst part? She was right. Looking back, there were signs. Little ones. The way he used to say things like, "I just like knowing where people stand," or "I hate when women get messy." The smug little smirks when he'd joke about exes being obsessed with him. He wasn't afraid of being caught. He counted on it. And that weekend in the mountains? That was never about romance. It was about power. Ivy pulled out her phone. "We need to pivot. The gala's still happening, but we're going public. Real public." My stomach flipped. "Like, online?" She nodded. "We both post. Same time. Same photos. Same caption. Screenshots. Receipts. A shared Google Drive folder for any woman who's ever been played by him." My throat tightened. "Are you sure?" Ivy's eyes were steel. I let him wreck me in private. "I'm done being quiet." She looked at me, waiting. "Are you in?" I thought about everything. The lies. The fake trips. The smirk when he introduced me to his wife like I was a coworker. That email. That mountain house. My fingers curled into fists. "Let's ruin him." Ivy smiled. Not soft. Not sweet. Vicious. "Good," she said. "Because his world starts falling apart tomorrow. At 7 p.m. sharp." That was the moment everything began unraveling publicly. We'd scheduled our posts down to the second. Ivy and I, sitting in my living room, our fingers hovering over our phones like we were launching missiles. Because, in a way, we were. Same photo. Miles kissing me on New Year's Eve. Same caption. "To the man who lied to me, cheated on me, and introduced me to his wife at his own birthday dinner." You thought we'd compete. Instead, we teamed up. Enjoy the show. Double life not so golden boy women supporting women attached. A carousel of screenshots, flirty texts, geotagged photos of us together when he claimed to be in client meetings. Receipts, literally and emotionally. A short video clip of Miles telling me he wanted forever. The final slide? A link to a Google Drive folder labeled, "The Miles Files, a Timeline of Lies." It had everything. With dates, names blurred except his. We weren't out to humiliate other women, just him. And within minutes, the comments exploded. It was like watching a controlled detonation. "Wait, I know him. He used to DM me. Girl, this man told ME he was divorced. Not Miles from Redacted Real Estate Group." And then, ding, a message request slid into my DMs from Grace Williams Art. "Hey, I know this is crazy, but can I talk to you?" I think I was engaged to him. In 2020. Engaged. My heart dropped. I tapped her profile. Artist. Chicago. Soft watercolors and even softer eyes. We hopped on a call 20 minutes later. Grace's voice shook as she talked. She'd met him in early 2019. He told her he traveled for work, so he was only in town twice a month. Said he was building a long-distance relationship slowly. Thoughtful. Safe. He proposed 9 months in. Gave her a ring. Took photos. Had dinner with her parents. They broke it off 6 months later when he started getting distant. He ghosted her after canceling their wedding venue. I asked if she had photos. She did. And in one of them, hand on her waist, big fake smile, teeth bared like he was auditioning for sincerity, he was wearing the exact same suit he wore to my friend's wedding last fall. Ivy and I stared at the screen. "He just recycled the proposal suit," she whispered. Like it was nothing. Grace, voice breaking, added, "I didn't know how to tell my family. I thought it was something I did. That I was too much. I felt that in my bones." Ivy did too. "Grace," I said, "do you want to help us finish what we started?" She paused. Then, absolutely. We had a new ally. The group chat was born that night. Ivy named it Operation Ghostlight, and I swear I felt a chill just reading it. Ivy, because he gaslit all of us. Me, and then ghosted Grace. Grace, let's haunt him back. Within 20 minutes, we had a shared folder, a spreadsheet, and a color-coded timeline. Don't underestimate the organizational power of 3 scorned women, especially one with access to Excel. Each of us dropped what we had. I had photos and messages from 2022 onward. Ivy had marriage records, emails, even an anniversary video. Grace had engagement pics, flight confirmations, and one cursed Facebook post where he literally commented, "Can't wait to call you mine forever." We were piecing together a decade of deceit, same phrases, same gift ideas, same fake client meetings. I found a message from Miles in 2023, calling me his anchor, and Grace screenshot one from 2019 where he called her his compass. So which was it, Miles? At one point, Ivy messaged, "He's not just a liar, he's a copy-paster." We were laughing through the rage, bonding over heartbreak like some absurd sorority none of us signed up for. And then, it happened. Grace messaged, "Hey, has anyone heard of a woman named Camille?" Silence. Then, Ivy, "Camille who?" Me. Doesn't ring a bell. Why? Grace. because she just followed me and messaged, said she saw the posts, Grace. And she says she has a son. With Miles. Time. Stopped. Ivy was the first to respond. Ivy. What? The Pala. Actual. Hell. We jumped on a video call within minutes. Grace looked pale, like she was holding her breath. She says her kid is 2. She whispered. His name is Leo. I blinked. 2? That overlaps with all of us. Ivy looked like she was gonna throw something. So he had a whole-ass child while juggling 3 women, one of them being his wife? Grace nodded. She didn't even know he was married. Said she met him on a business trip in Dallas. He visited every few months, promised he'd move there, said he was in the middle of a messy divorce and needed time. We were speechless. Then Ivy said something that made my skin go cold. He always said he was afraid of having kids. That's true. He told me that. Got all philosophical about how he didn't want to mess up a life just because he couldn't keep it together. But he had a kid. A secret kid. And the most disturbing part? Camille said he hadn't seen Leo in over 6 months. He ghosted his son. There's heartbreak. There's betrayal. And then there's this level of rot. Grace messaged Camille and asked if she'd be willing to talk. She agreed. And just like that, our little revenge squad grew by 1 more. Camille joined the chat the next morning. She sent a voice note instead of typing her voice soft, a little shaky, but with this quiet kind of strength that made you listen. I didn't know he was married. I didn't know about any of you. He told me he was divorced. And broke, actually. Said his ex-wife took everything. Ivy nearly choked on her coffee. He told me she was unstable. That she moved out and refused to co-parent with Grace. He said I ruined his credit. Camille let out a humorless laugh. Funny. He told me he was paying off her debt. Each of us had a version of the same man. Slightly tailored. Slightly twisted. All fiction. But what Camille said next made everything click. He made me sign something. Pause. Before I got pregnant. Some kind of NDA. Said it was standard. That he'd been burned before by women leaking things online. And he couldn't afford the drama. I was stupid I signed it. I just liked him so much. The chat exploded. Me? A what? Grace NDA? For what? Ivy. That's not just manipulative. That's legally shady. Camille sent a PDF. It was real. An NDA, barring her from speaking publicly about their relationship or revealing anything that could damage his professional reputation. It had his signature, her signature, and something else. A monthly direct deposit for child support. $1,500. That part was handwritten. Not formal. Not court-ordered. Just quietly arranged. And that's when it hit Ivy. He's been paying her off the books. She messaged me directly. That money had to come from somewhere. He doesn't make enough salary-wise to float that without notice. And she would know. She used to do their taxes. I felt a sick, sinking feeling. Because I had a memory. One I hadn't thought about in months. Miles had once asked me casually if he could use my address for something confidential. Something about a business opportunity. I'd agreed without thinking. It sounded harmless. I think, I said slowly, he might have used my address to open an account. Dead silence. Then Ivy said, I need your mailbox keys. My head spun. We were way past emotional betrayal. This was fraud. Over the next few hours, Ivy made a few calls. And by calls, I mean she spoke to an old friend, aka her ex-colleague at the financial firm where Miles had briefly worked before he went independent. She texted us later with one line. I found the account. Miles had a separate bank account. New. Hidden. With recurring deposits from multiple women, including one labeled Rent Reimbursement Ivy. Y'all, he'd been charging Ivy rent to live in her own house. Camille was quiet after that. I think she was processing. We all were. But then she asked, can we go to court with this? Ivy didn't miss a beat. We're not just going to court. We're going everywhere. Grace added, time for some legal heat. And maybe a little PR. Because yes, we were angry. But now? Now we were dangerous. We weren't planning to go public that soon. The gala reveal was still 24 hours away, and the legal process had barely started. Ivy had just finished an initial consult with a lawyer, one of those no-nonsense women who wore sharp blazers and didn't blink at scandal. But by Thursday morning, everything changed. Because someone spilled. It started with a ping in the group chat from Grace. Grace, did anyone talk to Charleston Spill Tea? She attached a screenshot from Instagram. A local gossip blog followed mostly by people who wear boat shoes. Unironically, had just posted a blind item. Real estate golden boy caught juggling a wife, a fiancé, a girlfriend, and a baby mama. Sources say a Charleston charmer's dream man reputation is unraveling. Receipts pending. Double life low country. The comments were a firestorm. I knew he was shady. This sounds like Miles. Not even subtle. I went on a date with that guy in 2021. OMG. Within an hour, his full name was trending in local hashtags. Someone found the Google Drive link. We had made it public, just not shared widely yet. And it was now circulating in Twitter threads, Instagram Reels, even TikTok. It was out. And Miles? He was spiraling. I got a call from an unknown number. Didn't answer. A second. A third. Then a voicemail. Are you out of your mind? You want to ruin my life because we broke up? This is insane. You don't even know the full story. I played it twice, then forwarded it to Ivy. She sent a voice note in response, calm and lethal. That man just confessed to nothing and blamed you for everything. Classic. Save that. Our lawyer will love it. Camille, meanwhile, texted in a private thread. He just Venmo requested me for Leo's preschool fees. $400. Grace and I both replied at the same time. Block him. Miles wasn't just trying to control the narrative. He was trying to financially squeeze us into silence. But it was too late. Because people were talking. Clients, former co-workers, exes we didn't even know existed. One woman messaged me and said, he took my virginity at 18. I'm 25 now. I thought he loved me. I was his intern. Another wrote, he told me Ivy was dead. I showed Ivy that one. She stared for a long moment and muttered, add it to the file. We hadn't just pulled off a breakup. We'd detonated a whole illusion. Still, I kept waiting for the panic to hit, the regret, but it never came. Instead, I felt lighter, like a 100-pound lie had been lifted off my chest. That night, as I sat on my bed, I texted the girls, tomorrow's the gala. What happens if he shows up anyway? Ivy answered instantly. Then he gets exactly what he deserves, Grace added. And we'll be there. Watching it live. Camille just sent a skull emoji. We were ready. The gala was held at a high-end hotel ballroom downtown. Crystal chandeliers, jazz trio near the hors d'oeuvre. Everyone in floor-length gowns and rented tuxedos pretending they weren't dying to check their phones. Miles was set to receive some Leadership in Real Estate award. Irony? Alive and well. We weren't attending in person. Ivy said we weren't giving him that satisfaction. Instead, we were in her living room, popcorn in one hand, champagne in the other, the live stream queued up on her massive flat screen like we were about to watch the Super Bowl of Karma, and we kind of were. Ivy wore red lipstick. Grace brought cupcakes. Camille curled her hair and brought Leo, who slept soundly in her lap like some kind of poetic mic drop. The event kicked off with speeches, boring ones. Then came the video montage, a tribute to the incredible work and heart of Miles Forrester. The screen faded to black, and then it began. The video started innocently enough, Miles shaking hands at open houses, posing with clients, sipping champagne at ribbon cuttings. Then the music shifted, soft, sinister. A slow fade to a text bubble. Can't wait to get you alone tonight, baby. You're the only one who really sees me. Miles to me, January 2023. Then another. Wish my ex-wife would take a hint. I've moved on, with you. Miles to Grace, November 2020. Another. She doesn't understand me the way you do. Miles to Camille, June 2021. The room on screen went silent. You could see it in the background, guests shifting, whispering, side eyes being thrown like darts. Then came the photo slideshow. Miles with me at New Year's. Miles proposing to Grace. Miles with Ivy at their daughter's first birthday. Miles holding baby Leo in a hospital room, date stamped just 4 months after his messy divorce supposedly finalized. Then came the kicker. A short clip of Ivy's voice. To the women who've believed his lies, this is for you. And to Miles, congratulations on your award. You've certainly earned it. The screen cut to black, no applause, just stunned silence. The host stammered through a half-hearted pivot, something about technical difficulties. The jazz trio restarted awkwardly. The camera cut to Miles, sitting at a front table, pale as drywall. His jaw was clenched, eyes darting around like a trapped animal. One of his colleagues leaned over and whispered something. The woman next to him stood and walked away. I think it was his mother. We screamed. Like, actual high-pitched, movie-style screams. Champagne flew. Popcorn went airborne. Ivy fist-pumped like she'd won an Oscar. I'd never felt so powerful in my entire life. In one room, Miles's career, reputation, an entire little empire of lies had collapsed. And we didn't even have to be there.